Mac.
Okay, shoot.
Max, your thoughts on the knockdown or lack thereof in the Crawford fight?
It was obviously a knockdown. Crawford came out and wasn't doing the things like you don't just get to do whatever you want. You have to make the moves like playing chess. You have to dominate the middle of the board, then you can look for your combinations, right? Same thing in boxing, you have to do the things. Make the boxing moves that set up you being able to do whatever you want. And Crawford skipped that part. And so he would move in as a southpaw, and Kavaliauskas was timing him and finding the right hand. Hit him with a right hand and knocked him down. Clean knockdown. And at that point, I had Kavaliauskas up 2-1 with a knockdown. That was that. But Crawford got up off the deck and stubbornly wasn't even going to change out of his southpaw stance, where he was getting hit with the right hand. He was showing him, yep, I'm going to stay doing just this exact thing and beat you up and knock you out, which he did.
After that knockdown, was there any thought in your mind that Bud was really hurt?
Yeah, I thought he got buzzed again a couple times after that. Got hit with right hands in exchanges, and eventually when he switched right-handed and really started to beat him up for a minute, got hit with the left hook he didn't like and switched back to southpaw. Kavaliauskas went to the Olympics. He's undefeated. He was the mandatory, he can handle himself and he can punch. But Crawford is a great fighter in his prime. And that's actually the kind of performance that will start making other fighters brave. He looked a little too mean for most guys until now. Usually a guy has a performance like that, and then suddenly some of the other fighters in the division who haven't wanted to fight him want to fight him. So hopefully that's the case.
Bob seems to be real keen on the Sean Porter fight. What are your thoughts on that?
100%.
Why do you think he's so
100%. It's obvious because the same way when Triple G was being ducked by everyone, or at least when it was hard to make fights for him at middleweight, we all knew who out there who's a name would fight him. Wait, Canelo fought Austin Trout, fought Erislandy Lara when he was the money man. This guy's not afraid. So everyone started calling for Canelo. Sean Porter is the guy over on the other side of the street making sure to name check Crawford because he fights everyone and gives everyone hell, by the way. It's because of the kind of guy Sean Porter is that everyone assumes that that's the guy who'll make the fight.
How do you see that fight playing out?
You're next.
Does this victory tonight solidify Crawford as the best welterweight in your opinion?
It's an interesting question because, and does it solidify him as number one pound for pound? Because you can look at that two ways. One, he fought a guy and beat him on not his best night in the way, if Kavaliauskas could choose a way for Crawford to fight before the fight, so he would have chosen that. That gives Kavaliauskas his best chance to win. Crawford fought that way. Kavaliauskas fought as well as he could, and Crawford still beat him up and knocked him out. So does that elevate him in your mind? Or when you're comparing him to the other best welterweights, do you think, well, he's a little more vulnerable than he's been in the past? When you're comparing him to Lomachenko, do you give him extra credit for showing that? Or do you say, well, wait a minute, that's not quite as dominant as we're used to seeing Crawford, and take him down a little bit? In my view, Crawford has now shown all the elements of a great fighter. Now the thing that's left is for us to see him fight another great fighter and come through under those circumstances. He's fought good fighters, and he's cleaned out division south of welterweight, but now he's in a division with other really excellent fighters, and we got to see him come through in those fights. It's not enough for just us to imagine he could do it. He's actually got to do it.
You see the great performance by Tiffany Lopez. You see him being the superstar, the man that beat Lomachenko coming up.
I don't know about beat him, but he's got a shot, and he'll be the underdog. But look, if he actually wins, that's amazing. Let's assume for a second that he loses. What kind of a loss will it be? And what kind of a person is he? How is he going to respond to it if he does lose? Because he'll be the underdog. Some guys, Azuma Nelson got a last-minute replacement shot against Salvador Sanchez when Nelson was an undefeated fighter out of Ghana that no one heard of. And he got knocked out in the 15th round. But he went to school on that fight. He got better and better, won a title, made a bunch of defenses, knocked everyone out. He was in the Hall of Fame. Jerry Cooney got a shot at Larry Holmes, maybe before he was ready. And put up a great fight, but got knocked out and was never the same. If you take a really young fighter and rush him into a fight with a guy like Lomachenko, and assuming he doesn't win because he's the naturally bigger fighter and he can punch, and he has fast hands, you never know. But assuming he doesn't win, what does that do to him? Does he go to school on the loss and get better, or does it ruin him? It's a really interesting fight.
Your thoughts on Joshua's performance last week and also Wilder Fury coming up?
Remind me, what was last week?
Joshua Ruiz.
Did you say the judges or Joshua?
No, Joshua.
Joshua did what he had to do. An immediate rematch against the guy who knocked you out is a fight. You don't have to worry about looking great. Win and move on. That's the most important thing. George Foreman on Max on Boxing called this. He said, watch Ali Spinks too. That's what Joshua has to do. So I understand it. I would say it was good. It wasn't great. Great would have been, the big guy using the jab. You can do that and sometimes come forward. You don't always have to let the other guy build momentum coming forward. George Foreman against Joe Frazier, both hands on the shoulders, push straight back. It stood him up. That makes him vulnerable to shots, and it also breaks the momentum, pushes him back. And Joshua was capable of doing that behind the jab too. So I would give Joshua a B+ because it came off of a knockout loss. An A would have been, you don't have to knock him out, you don't have to get reckless, but you have to, just because you have the reach and the fight is on the outside, you can keep the fight on the outside and push the smaller man back. And I thought he could have done that a little more.
Disappointing with Ruiz?
Well, the disappointment is that Ruiz comes out in the midst. He didn't train hard for it feels like you're defrauding the public when you swear you're in the best shape, this, that, and as soon as the fight's over, you say, oh, next time I'll be in better shape. Next time you'll be in better shape, brother. Everyone paid to see you fight this time. But the real thing out of that fight, does anyone believe that Joshua survives 12 rounds against Deontay's power and speed? Like, even if he's boxing well, you have to imagine at some point Deontay's going to reach him. And then what happens? I don't think it's enough for Joshua to be a safety-first fighter. I think you can box responsibly and be a little more aggressive and impose yourself a little more. Sometimes the boxer puncher, because he can box, chooses to too much. I think of Cotto Margarito. Of course, Margarito's cheating, but still, Cotto just gave up room. When Mosley fought Cotto, he pushed him back sometimes, right? I think of Better Biev and Vojtik was the boxer puncher, looked kind of good early. Better Biev kept putting that pressure on, eventually got him. I think Joshua can box responsibly and carefully and also more aggressively than he did against Ruiz, and that may be his best shot against Wilder, instead of just trying to avoid the right hand all night, because you think eventually that right hand is going to land. So you better be doing some damage yourself.
Does Wilder versus Fury determine the #1 heavyweight?
Yeah, Wilder Fury's #1 and the lineal champ, and Joshua's is #1 contender. Think about AJ. He was never going to be a guy who never lost and just beat everyone forever. He was always going to be a very dramatic fighter because he has a champion's heart. He's big and strong. He can punch. And he'll make the fights. Like, he will make the fight. People saying Joshua's running up. Joshua's going to make those fights. And when you're the money man in the division and you'll make the fights, you're in a great era. So I'm not worried about that. And by the way, he'll also get up off the deck. So Poulet, like, guys have, but he's vulnerable. Guys have chances against AJ. It's one of the reasons he's an interesting fighter.
Joshua mandatory. You said also for them. How do you see those fights going down?
We got to see what Usyk looks like against Chisora or someone, right? Like, let's see what he looks like at heavyweight. I suspect Usyk's going to be a good heavyweight. I suspect. But I don't know until we actually, like, Chaz Witherspoon doesn't count. This isn't, 8 years ago, this is now. So we got to see what he looks like, but I don't think they're going to make that fight right now, Joshua and Usyk. I think if Usyk shows up against Chisora and he's more or less the same guy he was at cruiserweight, now think about the heavyweight division. Wilder, Fury, AJ, Ruiz just based on the first AJ. By the way, Ruiz also went tooth and nail with Joseph Parker down under and barely lost that fight. Like for a fat guy, he's in boxing shape. He can move it like it's true. So, and now Usyk, if you add Usyk, that's a lot of top heavyweights.
Dillian White.
Yeah, Dillian White's a good fighter. I wouldn't say he's, like, it doesn't mean he can't beat some of those guys, but when I think of the top of the division, those are the names I think of. Fury's the lineal champ. He and Wilder got to sort that out. AJ is the guy who knocked Klitschko out and became a consensus champion before Ruiz. Ruiz showed his quality, and Usyk was a great cruiserweight, but now we got to see if he can carry the weight. To me, that's the top of the division.
Can Ruiz bounce back from his lackluster?
Ruiz is a natural fighter. He'll be able to fight. The question is, can he stay disciplined enough to give us the best version?
Max, I want to circle right back to Crawford real quick. Assuming all's well with Spence, can he put in that performance, the performance he put in tonight against Spence, and put out a victory?
I don't think he fights Spence that way. You know, but look, Spence has shown a lot against in England. Kell Brooks. Kell Brooks coming off the Triple G fight, that was a punishing fight, but he also gave Triple G a pretty good fight and way up to do it. Kell Brooks is a big guy for the division, and it's overseas in Kell Brooks' backyard, and Spence had to overcome some rocky moments, but he boxed in a disciplined way, showed grit, and looked to punish his guy the whole time. Against Mikey Garcia, Mikey didn't land a punch. Like, he showed a real good southpaw jab and defense, and against Sean Porter, he showed also on a night where you were expecting him to do a little more, but he came through with the shot he needed to come through with. Spence is a tremendous fighter. Crawford, to me, has the feeling of a guy we'll be talking about a generation from now. He has the feeling of an all-time great in his prime. And if I have to pick, I'm not picking against Terrence Crawford at 147. But Spence is the closest thing to a 50-50 fight.
I guess really what I meant was that if forget about how he fights, if he were to get hit with the same kind of punch, dead on the button.
I mean, look, people are like, he doesn't have a good chin, so-and-so, whatever, right? Whoever. You know who doesn't have a good chin? A fighter who gets hit on the chin. Like, if you get hit on the chin, you gotta go. So Crawford has a good chin because he doesn't get hit on the chin, really. If you're asking me if Spence lands his best shot on Crawford's chin, what's going to happen? Crawford will go down. And then whether or not he wakes up or gets up, time will tell. And the same goes for Crawford hitting Spence. But I don't see Crawford getting hit with anything stupid against Errol Spence.
Do you think we'll see Spence in 2020?
I don't know. Like, first he's got to recover, then he's got legal issues. So we got to see.
What were you about impressed you were about the gun?
I love what Conlon did tonight. He got ripped off in the Olympics. Nothing on 13. I mean, 2016. The Keaton, look. Our politics are awash with dirty Russian money. The Russians are banned from the next Olympics because of, let me be very clear, state-sponsored doping. It's not just that they're cheating, it's that it's sponsored by the state. All of the intelligence communities of the world are in agreement that the Russians interfered with the last American election. It is a corrupt place with kleptocrats who have a lot of money, and it's entirely reasonable to assume that there's a very good chance that that process in the Olympics was also corrupted. And Conlon shouted that out, and had every reason to be ticked about it because he clearly won that first round. He knew he got robbed in the Olympics, so he had to come out and change the way he fought in the second round, and he did it, and he won that round. And then in the third, he was losing because he's in with a good fighter who's used to fighting that way. But at the end of the third round, I thought he did enough to actually even win the third round. So he changed and started brawling with a brawler in the second fight because he had to. In this fight, he didn't really have to, but Nikita also doing things that are pressuring him and suckering him into some stuff. And Nikita eventually, who's a sharp puncher, brought him into that fight. And that's when it turned into a great fight for a couple rounds. But Conlon won that fight too. started hitting him with the right hook in the body and bringing it up top, and started beating up the Russian at his own game. So does Conlon have the ability and the discipline, which is also an ability, to keep the fight the way he wants it? Like Shakur Stevenson can keep the fight the way he wants it. I don't know that Conlon can, but when he can, he has the guts to also win that kind of fight, at least at this level. So I love watching.